was an article that came out a couple weeks ago, and I read to you guys. It was called "It's in the Exchange, Sir," or something like that, right? And so I read that article, and even me, I read articles, and you know, I give bombs. So I'm looking for the hot thing. Like, I'm looking for things that nobody else is seeing, things that nobody else is picking up on. I'm like, oh, that's a bomb. That's a bomb. I put it in my mind. I digest it. I put it in there so I come up with an idea. You know what I'm saying? So, boom. I read it, and I never thought about it, right? Uh-huh. So you see the thumbnail for it, right? And then all of a sudden, I'm going through some articles. And granted, it was 2 months ago that this event happened, right? Mm-hmm. But I would ask everybody, where were you 2 months ago, like on the second day? Because that is as pertinent to this interview as anything. Because that article that came out days later. But what was truly important about it was a guy named Dr. Amuhande Dagger gave an interview. And when I tell you I missed this, you talk about whiff, I whiffed it.
You whiffed it?
Oh yeah, I missed this. Because there are only 1,200 streams on this Iraqi news. And I played it on my stream. Nobody watched it, right? Everybody looked at it and was like, blah, blah. I put the censors out there. I was like, please, could you help me transcribe this? And so I got with the Kangaroo Gang. Uh-huh. And I knew that if I transcribed it by myself, it would be biased, right? You know my rule. You got to get 3 sources. So I got 4 people on opposite coasts and 2 in the middle to help me transcribe this. And I transcribed it myself at work on Tuesday. It took me half a day. Again, Miss Beauty's going to beat me for not selling nothing. But I had to get this information for you guys because I thought it was ultimately important, okay? Uh-huh. So I took my reading, I read it, and then I read everybody else's. I didn't change what they wrote. All I did was formulate into ideas that I thought were pertinent to what we're doing. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. The project is called The Deletion of the 3 Zeros and The Raising of the Value of the Iraqi Dinar. They don't give a rate, they don't give a date. But this guy gives an in-count detailed report. Now, to give you guys the skinny, I have to read you 3 versions of everybody's thing to give you 3 perspectives, because when you're doing Google Translate, literally you're sitting in front of an iPad or a computer with a phone or some type of device, and you're hitting play and then you're hitting record. And what happens is it spits out so many words and it plays, right? Now, how you know it all goes together, because when I read the reports to you, the things that are highlighted, they all jive, right? And so some things don't. You know that's where the translation, where either you had to stop it, the translation messed up, because Google translation is not exact. You can't exactly depend on it. You kind of got to use your gray matter, right, to kind of fill in the blanks, to think what they're kind of saying, even if you don't truly believe it, right? Because some things they're saying are like truly outlandish, and some things they're saying are like, okay, there are no girl parties, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's some really, really weird things. Girl parties. Yeah, and one of these things, it says a party for girls. Like, I have no idea what they're talking about, but I know that's a translation error based upon Google, right? It's not the Arabic, it's the Google. So don't take this as gospel, but take this as 3 accounts of the same interview from Professor Dr. Muhammad Dagher. May God bless you. He is the Financial Operations Department at the Central Bank. And may they keep you safe and welcome. Now, in this interview, about a couple minutes into it, they give his credentials, tell you about blah, blah, blah. And he says, the timing of this verse is temporarily installed. The public is the first file. We try to deliver it because to delete the 3 zeros from the Iraqi currency to know its implications. That's in the first 3 minutes. Okay? Now, the second file. That where they talk about the general overview, the concept of introducing it to the public. Mm-hmm. And from there, they give the example of Qatar, where they go to exchange currency because they have a little bit better exchange rate. I believe Qatar's currency right now is about 27 cents. Not saying that's the rate. I'm just saying they go to Qatar and exchange their dinar to get more out of it. You see what I'm saying? Right. Now, they say the most gracious, the most merciful, my love. Second edition is the forbidden, meaning it's an economic measure. Economic changes. Rather, it is targeted, I would say intentional. Now, unless the amount of money changes, most of them will not be affected by accounting, only the public. Now, that's Arabish for, think about this. Unless the amount of money changes, meaning the value of the dinar changes, Most of them will not be affected by accounting on the public. I mean, if you move a few decimal points, it doesn't really matter because only the public will be affected by that, not accounting, because they're taking those measures into account. Does that make sense? They're planning on that, and I'll show you how they are. Now, they say singers. Singers like Pepsi. I'm saying like it says singers? It says singers. Now you got to understand this is a translation, so it's not perfect. So you got to kind of understand. We're going to talk about this together. This is one version. Okay. Singers in Pepsi are in million. So if purchasing power and the amount of money will change for that reason.
Stock in Pepsi. So remember, I read that report from that funds manager today. Mm-hmm. I should have brought the report up here. I did a total breakdown on that report. And that Iraqi fund manager, he had a portfolio, IIPI. Mm-hmm. Remember I told you that? Mm-hmm. And basically one of the stock that sat in the portfolio that's on the ISX is Pepsi. Holla. Okay, go ahead.
Now you got to understand this interview happened 2 months ago, okay? Mm-hmm. He says, I am after the leaders, aiming to influence the psychological side. So you say, well, okay, they talk a little bit about the psychological, but it's gibberish on this one. He says, for printing companies in the world are the ones that print the Iraqi currency devoid our eyes. So what he's saying is, there are printing companies in the world that print the currency, but we can't see it. Our eyes are not able to see that, right? Mm-hmm. Because they don't have that public to them, just like we don't. When it comes out, right?
Right.
Now, what is required to change? These require preparations that require funds that require preparation for the process of coexistence between two currencies. These of our time to enter into the old grace. Remember what I told you guys a long time ago? When the Iraqi dinar reinstates, the old currency will coexist with the new currency for 10 years. That says it right there.
Oh, I want to go over and get that paper.
Don't get it.
Why?
Because it's new right now. There's more.
Okay, go ahead.
But at the same time, it is easy to settle transactions altogether. I mean from the process of settling mathematical transactions. Kuwait. If a supporter of the topics experiences in infrastructure, the central bank people...
We just went offline for some reason.
We did?
It says live stream offline.
Okay.
Hold on.
Okay, all right.
It's spinning. Stream resumed. Okay. I think we're back.
So you got to check your screen. Are we going?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me stop because all of this is very important because it paints a picture of what's happening. Can you scroll down to the bottom and tell me where they didn't hear it from?
They just said they were back. I mean, I don't know exactly. It stopped for a minute. It's like a minute.
Okay. Okay, I'll read this part again. A supporter of this topic, experience, and infrastructure, the central bank, people forging from globally accepted indicators to the currency, multiple currencies, small coins, small transactions.
And Guillermo said you stopped at the last bomb as soon as you hit the bomb.
Good. Okay, so that's the next bomb, okay?
Okay.
So you guys caught that, right? The process means okay, hold on. The supporter of the topic, experience and infrastructure, the central bank, people forging from globally accepted indicators to the currency, multiple currencies, small coins, small transactions.
You're experiencing an interruption again.
I'm being interrupted again?
Yeah, so you might have to...
I might have to do bombs.
You might have to get the last bomb you just did again.
Okay. It's spinning. I think we need more Wi-Fi.
I know. I agree. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
I think
Are we back?
we're back.
Did everybody hear that last one?
I do the last one again.
Okay. A supporter of this topic, experience in infrastructure, the central bank, people forging two, from globally accepted indicators to the currency, multiple currencies, small coins, I mean small transactions. This process means of deleting the zeros and heading to the currency. This means what is the relationship between the process in solving the problem of different rating operations and cutting operations that are possible. Okay? He says, he goes on to state about the inflation, about how the inflation will be affected by the NAR, but because I don't have enough deletion, enough evidence there, I'll read it back. But he goes on to say the psychological aspect ends with the decision to distribute the currency and replace it with all the work and of the course the currency exchange has a positive effect. Sometimes what we got is the operation of the bills is to open the piggy banks because we do not know what Iraq holds. Now, that made no sense. I don't know why I read that, but that was crazy. Okay. Now, he goes on. He says, Doctor, on the talk of stock loans, blah, blah, blah. And he says, this grant does not include the management of new central bank, the approach of the new direct monetary policy. Now, why would he go back and reference the monetary policy as being changed? That's a difference. Do you see what I'm saying? Why would he reference that? He says the grant does not include the management of the new central bank, the new approach of the new direction of the monetary policy. There's a new monetary policy is about to take place. This scholarship is the new central bank, the approach or the new direction, unconventional monetary policy. It talks about the productive sector. This 5 was joined of the concerned members. The central bank and the financial and the specialized banks that mediate the implementation of the initiative and the committee is called the Grandfather Al-Ghaffar Al-Rahim. Now, you go down a little bit further, he talks about interest. He says we turn the interest into same currencies to dinar that exceed one time only 13% of the central bank's commissions. As you know, the money, the people's money, means the central bank deals with the people's money. Keep it because it directly affects him, giving it as it is the market going down and up and leading in the ninth direct on the request of foreign currency investment. So what does that sound like? Stocks. It sounds kind of like what they're saying basically is, if they stabilize the exchange rate, right, and the commissions that the bank will make off of the foreign investment will help fuel the bank's money supply, right, and giving it a market to go up and down based upon foreign investment.